A new world order. Sounds pretty dramatic, right? Kind of like something straight out of a spy movie. But what if it's not fiction? What if it's actually happening, right now, out in the open? Let's dig into what was said and what it might mean for, well, all of us.
It all kicked off with this headline. So, at the recent Munich Security Conference, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio drops this bombshell. India has apparently promised to stop buying more Russian oil. Now, on the surface, that looks like a big win for the U.S. administration's economic strategy against Moscow. But here's the thing. This was way, way bigger than just an oil deal.
Yeah, see, this wasn't some minor detail you'd miss if you blinked. This one piece of news was more like the tip of a giant spear. It was a clear signal that the fundamental rules of global politics, the ones we've all been playing by for decades, are being completely rewritten.
Right, because that India deal, that was just the opening act. It was part of this huge landmark speech that basically announced, hey, that old world order you're used to, it's over. Done. And here's what's coming next.
Okay, so before you can build a new house, you gotta clear the land, right? Well, that's exactly how Rubio kicked things off. He came out swinging, taking a wrecking ball to the whole international system that we've known for generations.
He basically argued that after the Cold War, the West got, well, cocky. We all bought into what he calls a dangerous delusion, this idea that we'd reached the end of history. He didn't mince words either. He flat out called it a foolish idea that completely ignores thousands of years of human nature.
And he got very specific about what he sees as the fallout from this foolish idea. He laid out a whole list of problems. Things like our industries getting hollowed out, our critical supply chains being shipped overseas, a wave of mass migration he claims is straining our societies, and even giving up our own national power to big international organizations.
So if the old system is so broken, what's the plan? Well, Rubio didn't just tear things down. He came with a blueprint for something new, something he's calling a new Western century. And let me tell you, for a lot of people in that room, it was a real shock to the system.
And this is where things get really, really different. The foundation for this new alliance isn't what you'd expect, talk of shared liberal values. Nope. According to Rubio, the real bond is something deeper, more elemental. It's about a shared civilization rooted in things like common history, Christian faith, culture, and ancestry. I mean, this is a total redefinition of what holds the West together.
Let's just break this down because it's a huge shift. Out goes the old rules-based order, and in comes raw, hard power. Forget universal liberal values. Now it's all about a sharp focus on national interest. Those big global institutions, they're being swapped out for these new civilizational bonds. And that whole idea that we should all be economically tangled together for peace, that's being replaced by a massive push to reindustrialize at home.
And you can hear the goal right from the source. It's really a call to action. A call for the West to rebuild its factories, stand on its own 2 feet again, and basically take charge of shaping the next 100 years on its own terms.
Okay, so that's the vision. Pretty powerful stuff. But how do you think it landed with America's oldest allies over in Europe? Did they hear an inspiring pep talk to rebuild the team? Well, based on the reaction, not so much. They seem to hear something else entirely.
Yeah, the analysis that came flooding out after the speech was, wow, pretty stark. It seems like leaders and thinkers all across Europe listened to Rubio's words, and instead of a friendly invitation, they heard a threat. It felt less like a partnership and more like a ticking clock.
The publication Unheard really hit the nail on the head. They said this wasn't a proposal, it was an ultimatum. It basically backed Europe into a corner, forcing them to make a massive decision.
And the choice couldn't have been clearer. Option 1, get with the program, align with Washington's new agenda, and help build this new Western century. Or option 2, try to go it alone and risk getting isolated and, in his words, left behind. Pretty stark, right?
Now, this ultimatum, it isn't just about Europe. It's a symptom of something way bigger, this chaotic energy that's shaking up the whole world. And it's something the Munich Security Conference itself decided to tackle head-on in its big annual report.
I mean, just look at the title of their report this year, Under Destruction. That says a lot, doesn't it? And they came up with this really powerful metaphor to describe what's going on, wrecking ball politics. The feeling isn't that the world order is being tweaked, it's that someone's actively trying to demolish it. So what exactly is wrecking ball politics? Well, think of it as a style of politics that feeds on frustration and a deep loss of trust.
It runs on the belief that the system is so corrupt and broken that you can't fix it. The only answer? Knock the whole thing down. It's about demolition over debate, destruction over reform.
And look, this isn't just a vibe people are getting. The numbers back it up. The report's own polling shows this deep feeling of fracture. In key Western countries like Canada, the US, and Germany, a massive number of people think the West is way more divided now than it was just a decade ago. So this wrecking ball isn't just hitting some distant institution, it's swinging through a house that already feels like it has cracks in the foundation.
Okay, so if the old building comes down, what gets built in its place? The report sketches out some pretty unsettling possibilities for this new disorder. One is a return to spheres of influence, where big countries just call the shots in their own backyard. Another is a deals-based order, where it's all about handshake deals between strong leaders, not international laws. And maybe the most chilling idea, a neo-royalist order, where foreign policy is driven by a ruler's private business interests, not the nation's.
And here is the great, tragic irony in all of this. The report warns that this new world, the one that was born from people wanting to smash the old system, won't actually empower them. Instead, it could create a system that's even better for the rich and powerful than the one it replaced.
Which all boils down to this one massive question. Are we watching creative destruction? You know, tearing down something old to build something stronger and better in its place? Or is this just destruction? Are we simply watching the whole thing get dismantled with nothing but chaos and rubble to take its place?